Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Tanya Jones Awalusi, coming to you from Butterfly Effect Counseling and Consulting LLC. I am so excited to be here today. I have one of my favorite inspirational people coming here to talk to us today. She's going to talk to us. She's talking to us about various things, but there are some key points about her interview with me that are just going to hit you in your heart. And so I am very thankful and so excited to share with you one of my favorite people, Debbie McRae. That's right. Debbie is sitting down with me and talking to you about all things mental health, actually mental wellness. Now she's going to talk about that. So come on in, make sure you click like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss a thing. I'm so excited. Come in and see my friend, Debbie McRae. Okay, everyone, I told you I have someone very special to me, and this is my dear friend. I don't even want to say colleague anymore because we're just friends. This is my dear friend, Debbie McRae. Hello, Debbie. How are you?
Hi, Tanya. Blessings. Great.
Look at her spirit already. Her spirit just comes in and calms the space, right? I love you. Okay, so can you tell everybody where did we meet? How do we know each other? Take us back.
We go way back. No,
We do.
we go way back to an important and pivotal time, I think, in both of our lives, where we started the MSW graduate program at Kane University together, a 3-year program. And so we happened to end up, by God's divine design, and to my blessing, because there is a story in that, might not have graduated had it not been for you.
We might not tell that story.
That part, you know. So that 3-year period of going through that academic program um, brought you and I together and connected us, which has spanned beyond that. We graduated with honors and have spearheaded this world of social work through our various endeavors. But that is where we first connected, and I thank God for that time that's led us to here.
Absolutely. And if I remember that time correctly, I just remember first of all, I think I was a lost soul back then. I don't know how I got through grad school. I really don't. Between parenting as a single mother, trying to figure out adulthood just for myself, even though I was already an adult, figure that, and then just life on top of life on top of life. I don't know how I even was in grad school, to be honest. And I just remember you being like this, I say spirit because truly, if you know Debbie, Debbie changes atmospheres, okay?
Mm.
She does. And so I just remember you being this spiritual person in my classroom who just, you were just like, every once in a while, you just speak a little word into me, and I'm like, okay, something special about
Mm.
that one, right? And I don't know, we don't really talk about that too much, but when I say inspirational people in my life, you're definitely one of them. And you just kept speaking into me. And I'm like, huh, okay, thank you, you know? So I don't want to make
Girl,
you cry. I don't want to make you cry.
yeah, wait, I'm like, wait a minute. We did a little preparation. You're supposed to say, and have some tissue by at hand as well. Thank you so much for that. But I think it was mutual. I think that we arrived at a place along with, several other amazing individuals
Yes,
um, who like graduate school ain't no joke. And the social work
no,
program, I don't care, it ain't no joke.
no joke.
And I think we arrived in a space with very in different seasons of our lives, but
Yeah,
at the same time, really very much in similar places as single mothers, working, trying to figure this thing out. And
yeah,
so the parenting, the internship, which was like crazy, working full
goodness.
time with that additional responsibility. Um, yeah, I think that as much as I may have been able to inspire you, without a doubt, you know, encouraged me.
Yeah,
Like those times when I'm like, what button do I hit?
yes,
What? You know, the
yes,
technology and all those kind of things that presented a challenge for me along the way.
yes,
You were definitely holding my hand and pushing me along, and we're going to do this. And I do mention, you know, of course, I had to take an 11th hour. Otherwise, they were not honors and all. They were like, yeah, no, something from 20 years ago, you need to take care of this.
yeah,
And you really like gave up time and came and sat at my table and held my hand through tears and all. So no, we gotta honor that too. You know, I'm okay, no shame. I still made it, but I didn't do it alone.
yeah, yeah,
And so sometimes when we make, you know, have our achievements and give ourselves accolades, we have to
yeah,
remember the people who walked alongside, who God appointed. It was God appointed, because
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out that although it's not today, but by the time this video goes live, it's somebody's birthday. So happy birthday, Debbie. Now, we won't say the number unless you're comfortable, but let me tell you what they say, what don't crack, it don't crack.
Ooh, child. um,
Okay.
yeah. You know, one day you wake up and you be like, what? You know,
Yeah.
um, it's here. I'm grateful, and we'll, you know, I'm grateful.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and still hopeful, and
Yes.
still hopeful for the life and days ahead. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Happy birthday to me.
Yes, happy birthday to you. All right, so we're going to jump in. This was just beforehand. We're going to jump into some of these questions. I'm so excited you are here. I am thankful that you are here. And the first question I have for you, Debbie, for my lovely audience is like tell us a little bit about you. What do you do? What do you do? Who are you?
You know, that why is that question always so challenging for us? Like interviews,
Mhm.
I've been talking like for jobs,
Yeah.
for you know, anything you encounter that question. And I think for some people, they have a very snapped, fixed set response. Who am I? Right. For me, and even in this season, as I get another approach to another year older, I'm still being defined and evolving and becoming, right? And I'm learning how to give myself grace in that, because there's a part of me, that other voice that says you should know, you know, you know, you ain't got, you know what they say, I got more yesterdays than I do tomorrow, so you should
Yeah.
know who you are. But to simplify, so that's my reflective response.
Uh-huh.
um, to simplify, I am certainly all things woman, all things Black woman, all things God's woman. I just, you know, am really in a space of acceptance of who I am, giving myself grace as a woman, as a Black woman in this America.
Yeah.
I am a mother, I am a friend, I am yes, I'm a minister in very unorthodox arenas. I am a professional social worker. And even that is, you know, a challenge with working in systems that really challenge who I am and what I really value and what I believe I bring to the space. So professionally at this time, I am a care manager supervisor for a CMO agency in the state of New Jersey. I'm also consultant with an entity that is like a national platform for child welfare. And so I do some consulting as a family consultant with them. I do coaching and counseling in very um, relaxed, available ways, meaning I'm here if you need me. And so I have by calling and anointing.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier being an inspiration, and I think that that is part of my gifting, is to inspire, encourage, and support others. And so I am all of those things. I'm a little silly. I'm a little hip hop, and I got a great two-step. So there you go.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I would agree with all of those things. I love your answer, and definitely have been able throughout the years to see just about all of that. So it's truly a blessing to me. Um, as far as the field of mental health, right, and being a person that either spiritually, professionally makes themselves available to others, right? Like what do you think it is that led you to do this type of work?
I am absolutely clear that it's a calling.
Mm,
I don't, for me, finding my way into the social work profession, um, I had forgotten. A friend of mine met another friend, and that person and I happened to have graduated from high school together. I graduated from Leak Lake High School in Newark. Shout out Leak Lake Indians, although I was very quiet. But I was a peer counselor,
oh,
and I didn't realize, that I kind of was on that pathway long ago. Um, of supporting and helping and impacting the lives of others. And so, in the field of mental health, it's always been a part of who I was. So, from a young woman, doing peer counseling in high school, mentoring other my peers and students, and really committed and really remembering the teacher who oversaw that. Went on to college, starting out as a psychology and communications major, only to have the experience of being told why was I there, not in, that I would never be. Yeah, so, that's a different show. Um, and so I kind of, that was more around the communications field, but
yeah,
the psychology was there as well. And I shifted into sociology and criminal justice. So I've always had an interest, but really from a, when I look back, that it's been a orchestrated path,
right,
of helping and supporting others when the framework of mental health was not so common,
right,
as it is today, in any community. We just didn't talk about it. Um, you know, Suicide and mood disorders and other things were, headlined as a rarely occurring incident. My work, and connection with people has always led me to be empathic. I am empathic by nature. Um,
absolutely.
um, I have the capacity to love people where they are. I believe that that is also part of my calling. Like, from a ministerial or Christian standpoint, I'm like, God just called me to love folks.
Mm,
And whatever you are doing, wherever you are, whatever condition, whatever you're experiencing, I'm just called to love you right where you are.
and that's
It
so
might be it might be someone else's ministry, someone else's work to help you move forward. My work is healing, my love is healing. And so from a professional standpoint in the mental health arena, my work has always shown up in an unorthodox way, meaning I colored outside the lines. I understood theory and practice and various modalities, but I always showed up in a space, um, of love and compassion and empathy and support, believing the best and acknowledging the worst.
yeah. And that's what people looking for,
Yeah,
what people need. So
yeah. Some truth telling too. Like, girl, or
yes,
man, what you doing? Like, but
yes,
that's some truth telling. Oh, absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
So I feel like you've already answered my next question, was just like, how do you bring God into it? But it sounds
Mm.
like it's starting with God.
It
Right.
starts with God.
Yeah.
Even there's it's a song, I think, but she says, even when you can't trace him,
Mm-hmm.
even when you
Yes.
don't see him
Yes.
and sometimes don't feel him,
Yes.
he's always there.
Yes.
And so there are certainly times professionally, even
Yeah.
now, we're gonna talk about a little, even now, I'm like, God, like, you know, um, for myself,
Yeah.
but for the work that I'm doing for others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that even when I'm not sure, but I'm clear that there is no other purpose I have
Mm-hmm.
now. I have questions around how I can do this when, Lord, where the big bucks, how do I monetize this? How do I market this? But I also know that this is a God thing, that no matter who I work for, what nonprofit, what state agency,
Yeah.
um, it's a God thing.
Mm-hmm.
My commitment to helping others, the mentally ill, the mentally, and I really practice from a space and think from a space of mental wellness, that we need to hold that is not mental health. We either have good mental health or not so good or not good at all mental health, but mental wellness is what we all hold true. So mental illness is a component that we
Love
should narrow in.
That's so good to remember. Like, we all have mental health,
Yeah, we got
right?
physical health, good, bad,
Yes. Yes.
or other.
Yes.
But
But is there the wellness? I love that. Wellness.
yeah, yeah.
Look at me learning today. So, would you agree that with social work comes ministry? It's ministry work.
I think its core, it is ministry.
Yeah.
It is healing work. I don't know if the settler house that's back in the founding of social work, if those women were thinking from that capacity, but it's healing work. I think let me speak for me. I become more, the more I learn and the more I embrace certain truths about who I am as a Black woman,
Right.
about who I am as a Black mental health professional serving communities that are largely Black and Brown.
Right.
Um, how do I ensure that this healing work um, is in the forefront of what I do? you
Mm-hmm.
know, how do I ensure that healing work around racial trauma, around
Right.
biases that our youth and families experience every day that actually introduce mental illness and
Yeah.
stress and struggle into their lives because of the very systems? How do I ensure that? And so I hold space for people that we serve, for the people that do the work,
Yeah.
that sometimes goes against that grain,
Mm.
because I understand diagnoses and such are often entrenched in things that are culturally um,
Yeah.
insensitive.
Yeah. Talk about that. Okay. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would like us to kind of maybe take a, I hate saying deep dive, but that's what it is. If we could dive deep into, have you personally experienced anything, whether it's personally or professionally, any struggles when it comes to, I'm going to use your stance, your own mental wellness?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, twofold. I mentioned earlier that some of the work that I do outside of my day job is consulting. And one of the entities that I get paid for is a family consultant. I bring to that arena And I'm going to talk about twofold, as a parent, but also my own personal experience. I bring to that lived expertise. And that's becoming kind of a new buzzword, but it really is acknowledging that people who have experienced, um, various entities within the child welfare or other systems, um, where they may have received services for mental health treatment or residential care or anything, or hospitalization or anything of that nature. The persons who experience that often have greater insight than the persons who gone to school, read the book, got the credentials, have the title. Why aren't those people with lived expertise at the table? So I've been fortunate enough to serve in the capacity for the last for about 2 years now as a family consultant, and that is as a result of parenting two young women who are now living successful, healthy lives. Their challenges, but not challenges unlike many young adults or individuals are having,
Yeah.
certain economy and blah, blah, blah. But as a parent, I have a birth child, and a chosen child. And I say that for the purpose of this conversation, but they are, my daughters. There is no distinguishing them in my life. Those are my girls, my babies. I love them, and they love each other. One was my chosen daughter. Chosen child was I met her when I was a case manager and clinician in a program. And she was 13, 14. She came to live with me around 15. And now she is the right beautiful age of about 32. She's got a birthday coming up as well. And so my lived expertise, in part, comes from parenting a child who went through the children's system of care,
Yeah.
who was placed in a shelter. Yes, she has her own story to tell, but she's an amazing young woman. And I'm just blessed for the privilege to be called mom by her. And then my womb child, my birth child, we uh, born with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and healthy and bubbly and beautiful and brown and all things.
Right.
And then we had a path for some years that was very tumultuous, very challenging emotionally, with challenges presenting, diagnosable challenges
Yeah.
that led us through a very difficult time in both of our lives. But she is now this um, amazing young woman. I was going to use the word resilient, and I just was having a conversation with someone who's doing that. I was just having a conversation with someone about the use of the word resilience,
Yeah.
and what that means for
Mhm.
it changes with demographics. It changes in communities. Black kids in the hood who, are navigating gangs and guns and um, homelessness and hunger and displacement.
Yeah.
Um, and yet we say, oh, you're so resilient, but we also use that word towards a youth who may grow up in the burbs somewhere, and mom and dad separated, and there are some challenges, and oh, you're so resilient. Difference. So I'm looking for a new word, because I
Yeah.
think that word resilience sometimes does a disservice for people, and because then we talk about trauma, um racial trauma,
Right.
and then we say, oh, but they're so resilient. This has got to be a better way to describe that. So I was thinking, as I was about to say, with my girls, they are both resilient, for lack of a better word. They're just
Mhm.
extraordinary human beings who've
Yeah.
navigated some extraordinary challenges,
Yeah.
emotionally and mentally, and for their own well-being. But they're cool. They're they're cool. They're different. I love, one of them said to me, it's very interesting to me that you've raised these two individuals who are appearing non-conforming, they just different, right? In their style, they're courageous, they're
Yeah.
bold, they're Black, they're beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. And she said, "You're so conservative." Sometimes I am, but I understood
True.
her assessment of
So
me, like
true.
with that outcome. So that one part, in terms of my own experience as a parent, I went to um, an event last Friday at Christ Church,
Mm.
and it was entitled Woman Get Back Up.
Mm.
And they had three amazing speakers, and one of them talked about navigating life as a parent of a child who was born with autism,
Mm.
and how that changed her as a parent, her anger with God, and all the things that she went through, and
Yeah.
the things that we don't talk about as parents. Like, it's easy for me to talk about my child is excelling in an Ivy League or an HBCU and they're doing well. I found when I was going through, when my daughter was going through, some really very serious, heartbreaking challenges, there was not a village, there was not a lot of support in a communal way. There was actually a lot of judgment and a lot of referencing that distance us. And so her, and that was heartbreaking, but again, she is resilient. Both of them are. To my own story, I have generally been the person to support people in the midst of their crisis,
Mm.
um, um, marriage challenges, just life challenges. Like you started off talking about life be life, and
Yeah.
so I'm really good at supporting people when their life is life. I'm really good at holding space for individuals while they navigate and figure it out.
Yeah.
And But then one day I found myself in a space of true depression.
Mm.
Like, I was clinically depressed.
Yeah.
Um, and the significance of that is that I think we all have moments of sadness and despair. Situations arise, we lose a family member. We're navigating changes on a job or a loss of a job. Heartbreak, in relationships, those kinds of things can set us all in a space of disappointment or sadness or despair. And generally speaking, when we think from a diagnostic or diagnoses and clinical criteria, sadness for all of us is a normal emotion,
Mhm.
and disappointment and all of those kind of things that can change our disposition is to be expected. I was raised by my grandmother, and old folks used to say, if you live long enough. I'm an
Yeah.
old folk now, so I say, if you live long enough. so
Yeah.
um so I think we all have had moments of things that caused us deep sadness or disappointment. um, Depression um, looks, when you talk about dive deep,
Yeah.
it's very different.
Yes.
And there are people who function in depression, and I'm one of them. Um, so it looks different in that it usually the sadness from, I don't know, I don't want to minimize any incident, a job loss, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna pay my bills, or not pass an exam, because I've had that experience.
I've had it
um,
too.
yeah, yeah. So those things happen, but generally speaking, we come up out of them in a reasonable um, amount of time. Depression for many people really can overtake and consume you, where
Yes.
you cannot shake it. I say that I'm functional because I still got up and went to work every day because I didn't have the option not to go.
Yeah.
Meaning, I didn't have the luxury of enough money to pay my bills if I don't show up at work.
Right.
Um, so I had to go, and I think it's very interesting and probably a broader conversation for mental health professionals who have their own mental health challenges.
Talk
You know,
about it.
we, see doctors who smoke cigarettes, but they tell you to stop smoking, right? We
Yep.
see doctors who may have challenges with weight or obesity, right? Telling you need to lose weight, or they're hypertensive, or they have heart conditions, right? Um, Mental health professionals are expected to have it all together
Mm-hmm.
and not have any life challenges,
Right.
not get sad, disappointed, or depressed, not
Right.
have anxiety or challenges or any of that.
None
And
of
I
it.
think that there's room for a broader conversation and creating spaces where I say every good therapist has a therapist. And in school, that was kind of a recommendation. I am a true proponent of clinical and therapeutic support, counseling, coaching, however it may show up in one's life or one may access it. For me, when I hit this, like as I said, I've lived long enough. I've had moments. I've gone through a divorce. I lost many family members, all of my immediate family in like a 4 to 5 year period, like all. So I have a very small family, and my grandparents, mother, uncles, everybody, only one first cousin, everybody died in like uh,
Yeah.
within a 5 year period. Um, there was that, there was a divorce, there was just life stuff, right? That I felt like I pretty much handled, like
Right.
life sucks, that sucks, I'm sad, but I gotta keep going. And I think, the onus on, the Black woman who manages and, superwoman and all that stuff. I don't think I've ever fancied myself that way, but I've always operated from a place I don't have a choice not to. So I got to. Nobody else ain't gonna hold me down, right? Not yet. He ain't come yet, but just in case you see this, too cute. So, just Jesus. Anyway, so
He
stay
ready.
focused.
She ready.
So you stay focused. So, I think the space of depression that I went into just hit me from out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I've shared this on other platforms because I believe, one, it empowers me to empower others. And that is through my truth telling. So I don't ever want, like, in our helping profession, we show up like we got it all together.
Right.
And there's also teaching around, you don't, tell other people your stuff because
Oh
one,
my.
it's not safe, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but in terms of our clients and stuff, where they don't want to know that the mechanic's car is broke down too, right?
Right.
So there is, ethical practices that we need to be mindful of and not be reckless with it. But there are also times that we can create spaces where we can share our trials and challenges so that it can
Yes.
encourage, empower, and support others. And so my sharing my experiences with depression are from that space, that it serves me well. I have no shame around it. I'm good.
Yes.
I'm really living on the grace of God. I really went into a very deep, dark depression, and I could not shake it. I sought talk therapy, as we know it, at a later point, but I would show up at work and I was in breakdown mode. I'm helping folks. I'm really like still supporting my care managers and my team and what they have to get done. I'm attending meetings. I'm, advocating for clinical, so I have clinical insight and assess. I'm doing all those things all the while. Every day I'm thinking today is the last day,
Yeah.
because it got that dark and deep for me that I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that when I came into that space, what I've gained from that is, we often say you never know. We hear of people presenting with, or people who are suicidal or who commit suicide, people who are deeply depressed. but they don't look like it. They don't act like whatever you think it's supposed to act like.
Yeah.
You never know what someone is carrying.
Never know.
You never know what someone is going through. I think that we are not gracious enough of other people. We live in a cancel culture. Um, even within our own community, I'm speaking as Black folks and Black people in particular, Black women, especially younger Black women, some of the dialogue, some of the callousness. We call each other queens, but we don't honor each other. We don't create safe spaces
Yeah.
for that. And during that time, I know a whole bunch of people. I know a lot of people. But I'm also very, I'm my mother's only child. So I really, I'm that introvert who operates an extrovert energy sometimes, but I can really easily shut down and pull away and play in
Yeah.
my own sandbox by myself because that's just been my life experience. But I
Mm-hmm.
think during that time, I felt very alone. I didn't know where I was safe. And also, I felt like, mm, ain't nothing else nobody can tell me,
Mm.
because, the therapist knows through my job, they were like, call, go through your EAP program. And I promise I got someone on the phone that I was like, clear. I said, are they hiring? Because clearly I'm having issues and this cannot. So
This ain't it.
please edit this out.
This is good. This is it's important though.
It's
It's so
true.
important.
Because really what your audience needs to know, or that one individual who is listening
Mm.
needs to know, is that there is someone
Yes.
that you can trust. There is someone waiting to help you. There is a moment after this moment
Yes.
that you can hold on to. And so I'm getting emotional because I was really flatlining. Like, no joke. I was really like done and to writing the note. And I
Mm.
thought about my girls. That's like, I thought about my girls. I thought about, I got a little ego. Like, Debbie, your stuff ain't even together. So if you check out, you know, you're gonna leave a mess for them, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing. I can laugh about it now.
Yeah. But
But when I tell you the seriousness of it,
yeah.
um, only God,
Yes.
only, I have on my refrigerator a magnet that I got from Liquid that says, but God,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
but God.
Yeah.
That song, and I've shared this, I almost let go, felt like I couldn't take it anymore.
Yes.
Those were, but God.
Yes. Yes.
So I share that in open space for others that even, and I still know and I'm clear, I'm amazing. I'm clear that I have skill set, insight, assessment. I have tools.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm able now, like I have a lovely therapist now, who I said I need some time off of work, and she said, I ain't gonna write you out. but, but so but I've been able to kind of, and this is, for this conversation, this was a couple of years back. So I've been able to reassess and reset,
Yeah.
and move forward.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I still don't have moments of challenge or emotional despair.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that experience taught me that, even, knowing all that I know, that none of us, I don't wish it on anyone,
Mm.
but none of us um, are
Yeah.
was exempt from the
Absolutely.
possibilities of life's challenges.
Absolutely.
How you challenge them. I was watching someone she just did a workshop on moral injury. And so just going back to the work that we do. And I'm a big proponent of that. And when I heard her really put in the capacity of the work in terms of social work, in terms of those who work in very systems. And we now the word is burnout, right? People coming up out of COVID, and we work in organizations and entities and state factions that really have lots of demands, and often we find ourselves making decisions and being complicit because we need our job, but it goes against our very values. And so in this workshop, she talked about the difference between burnout and moral injury, and what one leads to the what looks like the other. But burnout, the reason I bring that up on the speaking of depression, says that it victimizes me. It says
Mhm.
I don't have the capacity to navigate this work, right? Oh, this wore him or her out, when it is the system that needs to be restructured, reassessed, and we need to look at that, right? But
Talk
many
about
people are, from a visual standpoint, falling off, right? Or walking away because the work that we do also is an added stressor. And so I know that during that time, although I had many other challenges and things that led me to that, just that I was arriving at a certain season of my life in terms of
yeah,
age, and was I prepared for retirement, monetary concerns, and just really reflective thinking. But the work that I was doing also, that I'm totally invested, but working 12, 14 hours at one point a day, because I'm so invested in helping and supporting others. That's an organized setting, as opposed to being in spaces where you get to kind of dictate your time and that kind of thing. So my depression during that time, and I don't believe myself, nor am I diagnosed to be clinically depressed at this time. Um, but I think during that time, my work also is a contributor to that.
yeah,
Um, and so I
absolutely.
think it's so essential for us to create balance, to create courageous spaces where we're choosing us. And I think for those of us who embrace a faith in Jesus Christ, my therapist challenged me recently. She said, "You say you trust God."
Mm.
I did this work women's group thing a few years ago, and the video has me saying, "It's time to jump." Right? It's time to jump. Sometimes we need to be courageous enough to jump, even when we are uncertain. But we know, like, the building is on fire. If you gonna burn up and go out in flames, thus burn out, or depressed, flatline.
Mhm.
So you gotta jump, you gotta move forward, you gotta choose you every time, every
Yeah,
time. And that is, in the narrative of the airlines, put the oxygen mask on yourself.
yeah.
We love our children
Mhm.
as parents. For those who are parenting children that have emotional, mental health, behavioral challenges,
Mhm.
how do you create balance to
Yeah,
choose you while you make sure and safeguard them? And you and I know enough about that,
right.
right? In your marriage, right? Ensuring that you are in position to contribute to a whole and healthy dynamic. But first, you have to ensure that you're taking care of you. That
Yeah.
might look different for each individual, and in our workspaces,
Mhm.
and even in our church spaces, because many of our churches, pre-COVID, my church experience was, we only want workers here in the kingdom, right? And you find yourself at church 4 or 5 nights a week, and dinner's not on the table for your spouse or your children. Homework isn't getting done, or you got them sitting in the back of the church when they might need your time and attention and nurturing. Balance.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Again, those things that we don't want to talk about because somehow it's disavowing God. And
Yeah,
I no, Jesus went up the mountain to rest. He
yeah,
went to sleep. He slept in the boat.
yeah.
So there, we could. There's the Nat Bishop. Are you familiar with her?
Oh, no.
Oh, you gotta check her out. Instagram, the Nat Ministry, Nat Bishop, and
Okay.
that is her Nat. Her thing is rest is reparations. As Black folks, we are saddled with being on the grind. We
Mm,
all about
yes,
grind culture, which is really birthed out of, I mean, we know we got to work twice as hard,
yes.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
all of
Say
that.
it.
But when you think about white supremacy, and enslavement was about the hardest working folks out in the field still was called lazy, right? And so here we are, in this century, still telling people to be on their grind
Be on
and
the
not
front.
encouraging people to rest.
Yeah,
Rest, really regenerates your brain. Rest not only, is essential for your body and your health. I told you, like, I'm really intentional now about resting. My house sometimes is a mess. I need to clean that up, but I know that I need to rest.
yeah,
So I think that really creating conversations, encouraging those things for mental health and mental wellness,
yeah,
um, are really essential. We can prescribe, we can diagnose, we can assess. Self-care has become a billion-dollar business, a
right.
multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes,
Our jobs and workspaces are having wellness parties,
yeah,
whatever, walking, yoga, whatever. But you
hmm,
still got to get all the work done. But sometimes you just need to rest. Sometimes
yeah,
just doing nothing is doing something.
yes,
I grew up with, girl, there's always something to do. My grandmother would say, there's always something to do. I ain't got nothing to do. There, pick up that broom. There was always something to be done.
hmm,
But we didn't talk enough about, there's also the necessity of resting for
mm,
self-care.
yes.
That's, yeah, I don't have to go to the gym. I mean, that's that too.
Yeah,
That
self-care.
too, self-care, but resting, relaxing, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah,
Laughter and finding the things that give you joy,
yeah,
and good pleasure, and that don't have to meet anybody else's standard, but you making peace with what brings you peace and
peace.
rest. I'm at a place now, my peace is non-negotiable. That means relationships have changed. Things that I would, you know, say or accept. Now I'm just like, okay,
I was
you
thinking
get to do
tolerate.
that. Tolerate.
Tolerate.
There, you all have probably seen that real. It's like, if I'm at the point in my life where you say 2 + 2 = 5, you right. You're right. Because my
Hmm.
peace, I don't have to prove anything to you.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to just receive your love and grace, and I want the
yes,
same. So,
yes, absolutely. I totally appreciate you going there for us today because I think it's such an important aspect. I know, there's various persons watching today, but just even for my therapists out there, right, to know that, like, this idea that we're supposed to not be going through things, but like we're human, right? And so to hear you speak about like your lowest point, right? And this idea that you were ready to check out, right? I've heard you kind of say it like that before. Um, I I I thank you for sharing that. It's important for all of us to hear. And then tying it to work, right? This thought of burning out and really with burnout, a lot of shame can be kind of attached to that too, because it's like, well, why couldn't I handle it? When in actuality, the expectations that are placed on people in our field is just outrageous and completely uncalled for. I'm just gonna say my numbers. I don't know what your numbers look like, but I had 250 clients at one point, 14 clients a day. There's only 7.5 hours that I was actually supposed to be working. So how am I seeing 14 people? And really this expectation to not only see the people, treat the people, right? Teach the people, heal the people, do all their paperwork,
all
like
the
what?
things.
All of it. Case
And
management.
and then it's like, why are your numbers
Yeah.
so?
What's wrong with your numbers? Like, why haven't you finished your notes? When was I supposed to do the note? I'm supposed to type, talk, all of that.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
expectation is just horrible. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so I thank you for like being able to tie that together. Because for me personally, when I left that situation, boy, like I had depression before, but just having the depression after and feeling guilty and shameful that, oh, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't do it, right? And what's wrong with me? How did I get to burnout? We in school we learned about burnout, like don't burn out, don't burn out. And I'm like, well, how did I do it? I don't even know when it happened. Well, it
Mm,
happened when you got 250 people you're responsible for. So,
yeah.
but just thank you for sharing that. You're definitely not alone in this journey of being a therapist and then finding yourself with a clinical diagnosis at one point. So I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah, I just like to add to that. I'm just going to shout out. So I mentioned the NAP ministry or the NAP bishop on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Hmm.
And she also just had a, released a book that I think is on the New York best sellers list.
Uh-huh.
And she also has a deck of cards. I have not ordered them yet, but it's for rest. Rest is I don't know the correct title, so I don't want to misquote it, but she can be found on Instagram. And the other person around burnout, but she just did the workshop on moral injury.
Hmm.
If the workshop, it was like $20. Her workshops is the Dope Black Social Worker,
Oh, I love
Tim
it.
Jones on Instagram. So I'm shouting both of them out. I don't know either of them personally, but their work is a blessing to me in the field of social work and mental health professionals. And that what we need to really open up broader discussions, but really encouraging because when you talk about having 200 plus clients, no, my numbers are not there, but they're still crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the expectations around them. And I often talk in some of the other work I do around data, like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, the numbers are weaponized, and talk about weaponizing data because those are the things that, really are utilized to determine your value in this field that is about individuals. But the work that we do is now more so when you are working in systems.
Yes.
Let me be clear. When you're working in systems, organizations,
Yes.
state entities, is more about numbers and data. There is by design intended to
Visualize.
help individuals, but ultimately it's about money, which is about the numbers.
Yes.
And so we have to be careful around protecting the work. Because again, going back to the
Yes.
beginning of this conversation, for me, it is ministry. For me, it is a calling. It is healing work. And for those of us who've been in it a little longer, it gets clouded because I do believe we have a new generation of individuals who are coming into this profession, and everybody's a private practitioner.
Yeah.
Great. And that's cool. That's
Mhm.
cool. I have some other thoughts around it, but it's cool because we need to see more Black and Brown professionals, therapists,
Yes.
clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, and the like.
Yes.
But we also need to be mindful, I'm like, look for experience, look for insight, look for that, just again, um, people pass tests, they take exams, they whatever, and they have the credentials. But you also want to know that people are capable. But for those who are not in private practice or those sectors, oftentimes we're in systems that utilize data and less compassion to serve the populations that we're intended to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like how
So
it kind of circles back because this idea of protecting the social work field, right? Which is so important because I guess that I definitely need to check out that workshop because there's so many times when you're within the systems, right, where what they want you to do versus right what your heart, what your God, right?
and that's that moral injury
Yes,
component.
yes. It doesn't always match. It
Yeah.
doesn't always match. And then you have the integrity piece, right? Um, Professionally and personally. And you're like, what am I doing? And I think sometimes that just alone can eat away at your soul, right?
Mhm.
I'll speak for me. It ate
Yeah.
away at my soul. right? Like, I'm trying to help people, but I don't have the time with the expectation that you have for me, and this is not working. It's
Yeah.
not. This system doesn't work. And then you find yourself, trying to advocate for people and trying to say the system's not working. And the next thing you know, you're on the outside of the system.
Yeah,
I'll just
because you start marginalizing you because you're not
right.
towing the line, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The system, but then we know the system is working. It's working as it is intended to. So we
Mm-hmm.
talk about, systemic racism and all those things. It's working exactly as it's intended to. It's not broken.
Right.
The justice system is not broken. It's
Right.
intended for Black and Brown folks to be the most incarcerated throughout
Mm-hmm.
our nation. It's intended, for Black and Brown women to suffer infant mortality. And I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
It's intended.
Yeah.
Um, and so it is not broken, but it is really incumbent upon us
Yeah.
to be the voices of change, to be change agents, to be,
Yep.
I often use this term. I'm like, I'm either a rebel or radical. I understand the need to burn some things down sometimes. I'm just saying, Jesus.
No, I love it, Debbie.
But
I That's what I love about your personality too, because you will be here and then you be like, look, we got to light some matches. What we doing?
what we doing? Because
I love it.
yeah. So I understand. In fact, yeah. Dope Black social worker Kim Jones, I think her name is. They said rage is welcome in her workshops because we stifle the rage in the work that
Yeah.
we do. Right? It's not welcome. It's not allowed. It's not
Mm.
professional. It's not acceptable. And don't be Black with rage because
Oh
that's a
my goodness.
problem. That's a problem. So I think that it's really important for
Yeah.
us to have an awareness, but also just stay committed to what we've been called to do.
Yeah.
And for me, that is to serve, to heal, to hold space for others.
Yeah.
While I'm on my own healing journey, you
Amen.
know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am again grateful. I didn't know, right, what today was going to bring. I think it has done its job, its purpose, its duty. I want to throw out one word to you though, just for me on the outside looking towards you and seeing you throughout the years. I'm going to throw a word out. And I want you to just speak on this word however you see fit and however God is instructing you to. And the word is, for you, Debbie, perseverance.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah. The first thing that came to my mind and my heart was they that wait upon the Lord
Mm-hmm.
shall renew their strength. They
Yes.
should mount up with wings as eagles. They should run and not faint.
Yes.
Perseverance. The
Amen.
race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but to the one that endures.
Mm,
That's perseverance. Endures to the end. But your endurance by God does not have to be filled with struggle and strife and despair.
mm-hmm. That is good right there. Okay. So, Debbie, do you have any contact information that you want to share? I definitely want to add to the description of this video the two persons that you listed before. So I'll make sure that that's there.
Please do.
But how can people reach you? How can people find you, follow you? Where can they find you?
So I am on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Instagram as DJ McRae 1122. I'm on Facebook as Debbie McRae. So I'm hiding in plain sight. My company is Higher Ground Concepts and Consultants, LLC. I incorporated like 20 years ago as Higher Ground Concepts and Consultants Incorporated. And pre-pandemic reinvented it as an LLC. I am a coach, a counselor, and a consultant, and under that is ministry, and wrapped in all of that is ministry. I shouldn't say under, but wrapped in all of that is ministry. So my platform really is around supportive healing, counseling. It is also assisting parents navigating the children's system of care. And also,
Fascinated.
yeah, and also really just holding space for times of challenge, times of despair, but times of joy and celebration. And so that is who I am, Debbie McRae, Higher Ground Concepts and Consultants, LLC. Delightful, delightful moment. And I just thought perseverance leads to prevailing. That also came to my spirit, that
Yeah,
we shall prevail. Life is a box of chocolate.
yeah,
Not even a chocolate, but listen, I think there is so much for us to do,
yeah.
but so much joy for us to have. And I that is my prayer for us all, Tanya. I am so grateful. And just in such awe and admiration of you, for every the periods, and people should know we don't chit chat. We're not that
I
kind of
know.
friend. We could go for months, years,
Yeah,
not talk. But when we do, and I remember when you moved from this area, I started crying. Because I was like, but so the
yeah.
connection is true and authentic and deep. But I am in immense awe of you prevailing, your practice, the work that you do, and the encouragement you still offer to me.
Yeah.
You still like, hey, I know somebody, or let me connect you with this person. I am just watching you from the sideline, one of your biggest fans and cheerleaders. God bless you continually.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do, especially coming from you, one of my favorite inspirational people in my life. Thank you for coming on here to talk to us today, to share the highs and the lows of just who you are as a person. I thank God for this friendship, and I hope that everyone else who tuned in gets to see just amazing, how amazing you are. And so, thank you again. I'll make sure everything is in the description so that you can reach out to Debbie and so that you can experience what I get to have for free.
That part. We'll work it out. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. I
So
love
thank you
you.
again. Yes.
Blessings.
Yes. Thank you.